or forfeiting our interests.
He took an oath to defend the Constitution of the United States of America. By some, he's been called controversial.
How can I convince you when your ears refuse to hear? You turn your heart away from me each time that I draw near. Your eyes refuse to meet with mine, they glance away in fear, as if you should not look at your reflection in the mirror.
Now, keep in mind that some of my guests have been approached by Homeland Security or FBI saying, why are you going on the Clay Douglas show?
My message to those guys, if they're listening this morning, is go get a cup of coffee. Maybe you'll learn something.
We both took the same oath, to defend the Constitution against all enemies, foreign and domestic. I don't recall there being an expiration date on that.
So well it doesn't show. How can I contain this anguish and this pain, knowing that your eyes are blinded by the light?
He is the free American, Clay Douglas. Catch the Free American weekdays at 7 a.m. Pacific, 10 a.m. Eastern.
Barbecue and the family on Friday nights. 10-lane ramp on Saturday right before the morning light. Came a time I was old enough and I learned about the gun. And every night in summertime I answered what I'd done. Today look what God found the way it used to be. They got no respect and no cold steel, just games on TV. A burning hell before I sell my rights away from me. It's high time we embrace the tool that keeps all men free.
Rebel Radio, the sun is rising across this great United States, and that means straight from the heart of Texas, it is time for Clayton Douglas, the free American. Take it away, Clayton.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another edition of the Free American. My guest today is B.K. Durham, affectionately I call Grandma. How are you, Grandma?
Well, I'm just fine. How are you?
Well, I'm doing well. You've sent me a lot of...
I've been watching this. Since we've been, kind of monitoring this a little differently, I've been watching a lot of this stuff that's, we've been watching through the years.
Yes, ma'am?
And it's almost, when you watch this Middle East stuff, there was an article that I just announced to you. It's on before it's news, but you'll find that contact article of the Phoenix Archives. And I have never seen such accuracy, but it brings it to where right now that it explains the current situation in this banking industry. It explains the Middle East war. It explains the whole bit, and this is back years ago. So I think that they did a pretty good job, and I think you might want to take a look at that. And I was really surprised. Hang on just a minute. Let me see if I can pull that up for the readers.
All right. How about this? Hold on just a second. How about this, Richard? I'm connected direct here. I don't know what's going on. Yeah. Yeah, they're telling me my sound's not very good here, and I don't know. So,
What do you want me to do, Richard? Can we do the show? Can you hear Grandma all right? I've got, we should, let me know here. I'm looking at Richard's on Skype here and seeing what's going on. I'm going to have to do the show alone here without a producer next week, and so I wanted to try today and make sure it's going all right. Let me look in the chat room. How are we doing in the chat room there, guys? They can't hear me in the chat room?
Can you hear me?
I can hear you fine. All right, we got this. I got it working now. Looks like incredible here. All right, Richard. I don't know if you're in this chat room here. Here, let me see. Okay, we're okay now. All right. Okay. Thank you. ULALI. All right. Okay. Don't know what it was, but we got it working now. Now, this information that you've sent me, they've been doing this for a long time. Al Qaeda ain't nothing new. This is one of the things that I really wanted to talk about because you're basically saying Al Qaeda is Israel. Can you explain that? I mean, we know the Mossad. The motto is warfare by deception, and a few years back I published some pictures of Hamas or the Palestinians or something like that, the PLA, and the little six-pointed star had slipped out of the guy's shirt and was hanging out. We know that Israel is famous for false flags, and we've suspected with Al Qaeda and Osama bin Laden being partners of Bush that we certainly supported and sponsored the Mujahideen. And we might just throw in that the United States also sponsored the war in Iraq, or sponsored the war with Iraq against Iran. So we've been attacking Iran for a long time, and it looks like it's heating up. Grandma, there's also Russian and Chinese boats, ships being sent to that area and given clearance through the Suez Canal. So tell me about Al Qaeda. Tell me what's happening.
Definitely more afoot. Well, I was just concerned because I pulled up an article that was on old rumor mill files, and it was posted by Rosalinda back in Saturday, November the 1st, 2003. And it was where Ariel Sharon underwent a 7-hour police interrogation on October 30th. And that was in connection with financial scandals which are involving the foreign and covert money made available to Sharon and his family and other coups. And the investigations, which could determine Sharon's fate, have serious implications for Sharon's backers in the U.S. and other countries that have reached the point that brawls with the Israeli police and judicial administration are again being highly highlighted in the press. So this goes back to 2003. The disputes concern whether Sharon should be indicted on bribery charges for the 6-digit cash flows to Sharon's son for a Greek island resort, and also recent charges by police Major General Mizrahi that Sharon's Attorney General, Elohim Rubenstein, had interfered with Mizrahi's investigation of Russia, Israeli organized crime backers are Sharon's finance minister, former prime minister Benjamin Netanyahu. Do you hear what that said? The Russian-Israeli organized crime backers are Sharon's finance minister, former prime minister, close parens, Benjamin Netanyahu, who is now the prime minister of Israel. Now, on with the article. What was not brought up in the October 30th interrogation was the all-important question of the New York-based Ari Ginger's possible role in funneling $1.5 million to Sharon via Austrian bank accounts of casino operations Martin Schlatt and Sharon's war buddy Cyril Kern of South Africa. Israeli investigators are awaiting Israeli and Austrian court decisions. They were also you're not going to believe this one, folks. I'll start over again with that one. Israeli investigators are awaiting the Israeli and Austrian court decisions to get more access to the paper and money trails before interrogating Sharon, again this time, on Ginger's role. Ginger was Sharon's private channel to the U.S. National Security Advisor Condoleezza Rice and to Kern's South African political godfather and diamond business partner Mario Ambrosini, who was sent to that country by the Jabotinsky Philadelphia interest beyond mayor candidate Sam Katz. And this comes right out of the New York Post, and it goes and continues that there was now listen to this, guys, because this is very important. This goes into what we're enduring at this time. Yuri Dan reports that a Watergate-like eavesdropping scandal is the backdrop for this current bribery investigation of Prime Minister Ariel Sharon. Dan claims that the wiretaps conducted by the Labour Party linked secret police officials in 1998-99 with then Prime Minister Netanyahu. Sharon and other Likud Party officials only came to light this past week. Attorney General Eliakim Rubinstein is said to have told the Knesset on October 29th, quote, "I was horrified when I saw the files with the transcribed conversations, 70% of which he said was irrelevant to the probe and included intimate conversations." And that comes out of the Corriere della Sera Guardian Washington Post on October 31st, 2003. Yamon's attacks against the Sharon policy dominate the unprecedented attacks by the Israeli Defense Forces and the General Staff, the Lieutenant General Moshe Gilon, have been picked up by the European press and U.S. press as a sign of growing tensions between the military and the government. The Guardian, which ran a banner headline, quote, "Army Chief warns Sharon, we're on the verge of a catastrophe," reports that the remarks which Yalon made anonymously were so devastating that he was swiftly revealed as the source. There is something that I think we need to all start remembering. I don't know how many of you remember it or not, but Prime Minister Netanyahu was also associated with the LaSalle banking group in Chicago with Barack Obama, Hillary Clinton, and that group. And this is the money problem that we're having today. And in that 97, 98, 99, mentioned there, that would have been when President Clinton and addressed the Council on Foreign Relations that he was going to start a new international monetary system. And this is when they started to break the attack on the U.S. dollar. Now, we had another situation that occurred in 1991. It was September the 11th and September the 12th, which involved a lot of bank fraud, and that was in regards to two $120 billion prime bank notes that were assigned by James Baker III, George H.W. Bush, and Clinton and his group was involved. This involved the German banks, Japanese banks, Credit Lyonnais, Bank of England, Goldman Sachs, J.P. Morgan, Securities Exchange, on and on and on.
Okay, let me stop you for just a moment here, Grandma. I have some. All right, now what the hell is that? Okay, in the news, in the mainstream news, all of these banks are being looked at. Wells Fargo, Bank of America, and what DHCS or something over in England. They've cut off funding to a lot of the embassies. What is the international community all waking up? Go ahead, dear.
That's exactly why the World Trade Towers, why they hit Cantor Fitzgerald. And Cantor Fitz was the underwriter on those two $120 billion prime bank instruments. They were gold bearing that were unauthorized by this trust that was used by the Bush cartel, and it was used by Clinton, and that's all part of Clinton's 1997, 98, 99 restructuring of the global financial industries. And that's why you've got all this problem. Well, the problem is that I notified the Phil, Switzerland. I notified the head of the banking investigations about these two $120 billion unauthorized prime bank instruments. And of course I notified Interpol also. So, and there is a crack group there with Interpol that works and has worked with someone that I had worked with since the 1980s. And Russell had worked with them before then. But they are some of the best bloodhounds in the banking fraud industry you ever saw. These guys do the best forensic work you could ever think of. But anyway, I had noticed the Phil people, or Basel, or whatever they call it. And I had noticed them that they were not in full compliance with the sale accord, number 1, or number 2, and the pending number 3, because they could not show and that's not to be confused with the Asian Alliance, but that's the ASEAN Alliance that involved Prince Bandar and the others and Prince Bandar put up 20% of his nation's wealth and he thought, I believe that he thought he was working with Russell, and he wasn't. So, I have looked at this and looked at it, and I just think that all of this needs to be looked at with in-depth scrutiny, because what we're looking at here, these nutheads that you're looking about, they're trying these alleged Al-Qaeda, the Al-Qaeda, the Israel, and this is the one that Benjamin Netanyahu, and that's why he keeps threatening Obama. And Obama's between the rock and a hard place.
Welcome to Blog Talk Radio.
Hold on, Grandma.
Press the pound key.
Hold on, Grandma. Hold on. Just a minute, please. Wait a minute here.
I'm sorry, but I did not hear you press at least 4 digits.
Our menu has recently changed. Please listen carefully.
Since it appears you're calling back into a live show, we're reconnecting you now.
All right, dear. We're reconnected, and I believe I've still got Revolution on. So you guys let me know in there. All right, are we back here? It is reconnecting the calls, and we do have VK Durham on. So let me see. And all right, what do we got, Richard? Yeah, Grandma, they're saying your sound is bad. We keep getting a roaring in the microphone, so I don't know. See if we can keep the microphone clear. And okay, we've got her back up, huh, Richard? Go ahead, Grandma, with what if you'll repeat what you were just saying before my modem here took a dump.
Well, I said that we really have to do some in-depth, and you know, the Secret Service refused to investigate because the president, their only duty was to protect the president. Well, that kind of leaves us off in the next world. But to support what I was saying, that there was a recording by this group that had hoodwinked Prince Bandar, who they called Manny, and I'm going to play it for you right now. So.
Okay.
What is taking place under the shelter of a total fabricated program to keep you in security and get this thing done. You might be surprised. This very day, I, Commander Baton, that you question and not question every night. And I have top-level meetings with them there. We have to go through what we're doing here. Under the shelter of the IMF and the World Bank, etc., working down through that central bank and through Manny, we'll just call it Manny's plan, because he's been sucked into it.
All right, Grandma, that's not sounding too good. It's hard to hear.
I'm going to play another part.
Okay, what are we listening
Hold
to
on.
here?
We've played heads of state. We have such a massive program working as I speak in the Asian conference, the ASEAN, A-S-E-A-N, not ASEAN, although it will do. Except this is the ASEAN
conference. And this will pull in all the Asian nations, with the exception of the Philippines, and these are mostly Muslim, Buddhist. They are a conglomeration of many of those religions over in Malaysia and Indonesia. But there is so much hard metal stashed over there. That was the place to go and bury the gold. Well, we are working in Asia with some of the bankers, and the ones that, well, you've seen the one on Rich and Famous, that is basically organizing the ASEAN circumstance, because this one was willing to put up 20% of their entire gold wealth. You see, everybody wants to talk about, Rick especially, wants to talk about the Global Alliance instruments. Those instruments are only for a security 4, 5, 6, 2 years out.
All right, let me ask you about...
Can I finish?
Go ahead, dear.
Those instruments that they were talking about were instruments that were allegedly signed by Russell Herman. Well, Russell Herman's signature has been listed and notarized on those and self-witnessed by Rick Martin 4 years after Russell Herman was dead. And that's how they, and the party that they were talking about putting up the 20% was Prince Bandar. And that's why Prince Bandar lost his life. That's why he was terminated. Well, both of the experts, EJ and Doris, who played the role of Hatan, they were terminated. EJ was in a Malaysian court over those instruments. The Malaysian court made a decision that those instruments were all a fraud, and the party who stepped up to identify EJ as being the party really solidified that fraud case. But when EJ left the courthouse, EJ, someone slipped up behind him, used a garrote, and darn near cut his head off. Well, Doris, the other Hatan, was Doris Secker. She was, she passed away of the CIA flu, which was nothing more than the bird flu where the lungs stick together. Right now, as I started to tell you earlier, all of these started coming due, and they found out they were not compliant. They could not show the source being authorized by the owner. That was me. And the Michelle group has copies of my instrument, as does Christine Lagarde at the IMF. So now you see where the problem is coming from, that none of them are Michelle compliant. And so this is why you've got all of this going on in the Middle East. These people put up the money, they put up gold, or what they thought was gold. Some was gold, some wasn't. And now they and their leaders joined into that, and they've killed the leaders. And now the people are upside down. And this was a bogus CIA operation that Treasury and the Federal Reserve should have never entered into with this group.
All right, this group that I've just got a terrible echo here sometimes, Grandma. So, on this end, it sounds like you're got the mic under your nose or something. We get a kind of a distorted sound like that. Yeah, that's better. That's better. Yes, ma'am. That's better. All right. Now
Okay.
this financial, this is our financial group that is and they are funding, and actually you could call them Al Qaeda. What was the Al Quad is the cover name that they use? Or can you go into that in a little bit more detail? I mean, we know.
Well, they were operating. I can. Let me see if I can get this down. Can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am, I can hear you. That's and that's good. You're not breathing. I don't hear the breath in there. We know that.
It's not me breathing because I'm 2 feet away.
Okay, that's
Okay,
great.
now here's what uh, I think where you should go. I sent you one a few minutes ago that uh, gave you the full chapter 8. Do you have that in front of you?
No, ma'am, I don't have it directly in front of me. No, ma'am.
Uh,
I'm juggling
okay.
3 or 4 screens down, trying to keep the everything, the data usage down. So we got a good show here. So
Okay.
go ahead. Al Quad. I've got that up right in front of me. That about the article that was pulled yesterday. They're trying to keep this information down, and this links out Al Qad or Al Qaeda, Netanyahu, and Sharon.
Yeah, well, they put Sharon in a permanent coma around that time, and then they ultimately killed him. Now, we'll go back to these individuals who are operating out of pods or cells, which are global, okay? And these pods themselves were spin-off groups out of Riyadh and Jeddah, and they're run by this Princess Rani out of Saudi Arabia. And I wrote to Prince Abdullah when he was a prince, not the king. I wrote to him and told him he ought to take her and turn her over his knee and give her a good hairbrush spanking. But anyway, and I never saw a woman that's so full of hate in all my life as this woman. But the Philippine Corps, let's go back to the Philippine Corps, operates as a mirror CIA contractor. Was contracted to do banking in the U.S. federal corporations, and these corporations were formerly the U.S. corporations incorporated after Court Christie. Now, he's an ex-IRS agent, researched the corporate status of the U.S. corporations, and found Rubin had conveniently forgot to reinstate the Inter-American Investment Corporation, the Inter-American Development Bank, and the Depository Trust located at 55 Water Street. Well, the Eckers incorporated that. And they ran all of their little operations through those banks, making the world think that they were the real banks. Now, the fraudulent incorporations are the former U.S. federal government agencies and the U.S. Federal Reserve. And the U.S. Federal Reserve corporations resulted in, quote, now this is what Hatan says, Mrs. Ecker, shuffling the pawns on the big contract, the chessboard, February 3rd, 1998, page 27 of the Contact, the Phoenix Project.
All right, Grandma, we need to move forward into the present here. I want to ask you. I've got you on here, and you are a font of information. Now, I just had somebody on yesterday that was talking about the Muslims and saying that the Muslims weren't the problem. They aren't even the women aren't don't walk around the way our television is telling us about that. I wanted to ask you about that. You've been over there.
Can I answer? I'll answer that if you listen to this quote.
All right, dear. Go ahead.
And it said, shuffling the pawns on the big contract. And they're talking about our instruments that are held in trust that they used with Russell's forged signature. Said we have a nice, new, and interesting game in our own arena, of which you might find some interest yourself. We had issued contracts from the big contract held for UK Durham, you know, the one that she's tried to give you, the people.
Yeah.
Now, time went by, and for security reasons, those were parked in a corporation called Inter-American Investment Corporation, closed, open parens, incorporated properly, closed parens. And how interesting that now Mr. Bush's company, by the very same name, but never incorporated, even though they had it in the name corporation, have shifted the so-called assets into their tent of Mr. Robert Rubin of Treasury, and he's on the board of directors. Tacky, well, it's a bit illegal at least. Worse, they sucked in a very nice Filipino candidate for president and sold him a sneaky bill of goods and paid him some upfront money with no intention of ever giving him his rightful share. But he bit like a hungry frog on their poison bait. Well, they bit on my poison bait. Now his life is not worth a plug nickel, and I wonder if this is human rights or get you first. What is there about the contracts? Well, the contracts, we passed out a whole bunch of them, then lodged them with every important and related party we could find, from the Federal Reserve to Treasury, IMF, the World Bank, and second copies of the same to leaders of each group, and then we interchanged with Bush, as in personally, and let the whole thing go dormant. Does it matter? No. It doesn't matter because Bush used the certificate unlawfully, the contract unlawfully, and the contract still supplies the funds to the IMF and banks, along while shoring up of markets so that even yours will look good while chaos and poverty, bankruptcy is all that you have, really. Now, I think BK might find this interesting. They'll probably say more when they already than what they've already done to her. The last message was, we will not deal with that obnoxious bee under any circumstances, and if she's involved in it in any way, we will not deal with you. Well, would guess it matters a lot of the tale told by Grandma quite true. But the power force in dealing and getting work miracles on the weary. In quote, let's give a website for that, and I'll give it to you, and I'll Skype it over so you can.
I'll put that up on the chat room. I've got my echo right here.
But now, getting back to your Muslim women, those women are just as advanced as most American women. They've allowed them to be educated. They drive their own cars. They live life of little queens. Most of them do. So, you know, I've seen some very interesting videos where they all go shopping together, you know, and they have beautiful department stores over there. And why they keep showing us on the news media all of these old mud huts and everything like that, I'll never know, because that is not the case. That is not the case.
Iran, now we've been attacking Iran for years, since they drove out the Shah, and we financed Saddam Hussein, and when he figured out what double dealers we were, they killed him, and I understand that Russia is a little upset, and maybe even Medvedev, the president there, might have gotten booted out for trusting the United States over Gaddafi. They seemed like Russia feels like the United States betrayed them on Gaddafi. And have you got any information in that line?
I would say that yes, they did. Just like they, it's all been, in my opinion, and I'm going to say this, and I'm going to say it pursuant to my First Amendment rights, because I do have the freedom of speech. Now, as I said previously, all of these leaders in Gaddafi's Libya was one of the ASEAN, as was Saddam's, as was Egypt. And now you see what's going on. Now, even Arafat, they murdered him, they poisoned him.
Yep.
Yeah.
So, this is a rogue CIA operation. These, in my opinion, and I believe it's supported by what I've said, what we've read, what's on the internet. I don't lie. The people I deal with don't lie. None of my associates lie. And why? Because the nation and the human rights provisions of all nations is too important. Those human rights are so important, no one will ever know, and that's why they're trying to get rid of our Constitution. Well, I got news for you. If they're going to get any funding, any collateral out of this trust, they will acknowledge the Constitution. And that's why they're scared to death. Or they won't, if they don't acknowledge it, they don't get anything. They will put up those weapons of war. We will have peace. We will start the people to working again. We will start them to putting their nations back together again. We will have jobs. We will have industry. We will have health care. And most of all, we'll have the respect that America and Americans deserve.
That's my goal. This is why I started the Free American. This is why I started the militia, to protect the American people. I am trying to help the American people. And why did we get so, because, and I know that's your goal too, that's what the whole trust is, the whole way the trust is written up, that this trust and this trillions of dollars that's floating around there into the banking systems are belong to the American people.
Yes, it is.
We've got billions in every county here in the comprehensive annual financial reports. They're investing your money, making money off of it. And every dollar in your pocket, you're paying interest on that, and our bailouts. This is, we certainly have, and there's enough common sense in what we're saying here, that these bankers and these, whether they're Jews, Illuminati, Masons, lawyers, they're banksters, they're criminals. It's a criminal organization, and they are ripping you off to the tune of billions of dollars every day for this fund, that fund, support this, support that. Now,
identify, excuse me.
Go ahead, dear.
At this point, we should identify who those individuals are, or who those corporations are. They can be identified if one will search out Executive Order 12803 as to who the non-governmental agencies were that incorporated when George Bush sold off and privatized our infrastructure to these nations. And we will find out who has control of the highway. We will find out who has control of the Social Security, which is England. We will find out who has control over your bridges, your airports. We will find out who has control over the healthcare systems. You will find out who controls the mortgage industry, who controls the banking industry, and I guarantee you it's not the United States of America, the rule of law of the United States of America. It's the Council on Foreign Relations, closed little group that have, along with Bill Clinton, decided in 1998 that they were going to restructure the monetary system and bankrupt the United States. And that's where all of this is. Now, I want to show you something. Now, I want you to just sit very quietly and open, just act like your forehead. Close your eyes, and you've got a television screen up there in your forehead, okay?
Yeah, okay.
You look at Detroit. Look at Detroit.
Yes.
Look at the devastation. When we can remember Detroit as one of the wealthiest cities in the world. It had production of the auto industry. Everybody was working. Everybody was happy. It was progressive, very progressive. Now it's in devastation and ruin. Why? Because Bill Clinton, when he was down in Arkansas, offered them a tax break incentive to move down there, and it put Detroit auto industry on a downhill slide. Americans. That's when we lost Detroit. But now you've got Chinese trying to buy Detroit. You tell me who supported the bonds and the structures, the infrastructure for the building of Detroit and the building of the highways and the building of the sewers, and I got news, and the water lines, and I got news for you. Under that law, under the law, who controls the water lines controls the cities. Now they own the rights. Now what we're looking at here, you've got China buying Detroit. What else are they buying? They're buying all
farmland.
The bonds.
They're buying farmland.
Let me stay on what?
Yes, ma'am. Go ahead. Go ahead. You asked what they were buying. Go ahead, dear. Go ahead.
All of the mortgages, they're buying up those tax bonds.
Okay.
Those tax bonds that was put up where people pledged to pay so much taxes on their property to build all of that infrastructure. That's what China is getting on every ounce of property she's taken over here in the United States. Excuse me. That's what the rest of these countries are getting. That's how they're getting control of this country. They're doing it through the tax bond base. And nobody's realized it. You don't realize those taxes never go up. Do you realize what I said there?
Yes, ma'am.
That's a dangerous situation. Now we're seeing all of this stuff that's being handled by foreign corporations. We've got to get to the basis of this and find out who in the heck those foreign corporations are that bought those infrastructures and that Bush sold them off to. And that is treason for him to sell off something that does not belong to him. And it did not belong to the United States. It belonged to the people. The sovereign civil governments of the state, and of the city, and of the towns, and of the villages. Of rural America, yes. But he sold it off. That's treason. In anybody's book.
They sold They sold over all of our tools to China too. They sent all of our manufacturing, the tools we need to manufacture here. All part of reducing us to basically a third world dictatorship, huh?
Well, you want another one?
Yes, ma'am.
1997, Bill Clinton sold the tobacco cigarette making rights to China. And they started this anti-smoking crap here in America. But they sold it all off to China. You tell me that those people don't need an investigation.
I believe they do, but if the CIA and Mossad are controlled by the banksters, it looks to me like the FBI is controlled by the banksters. So who do we get to investigate? Who do we get to arrest? We've got enough proof, and now this is what we said off. I said to you off air, I'll say it to you on the air. I don't think we need a million-man march on Washington. I don't think we need to shoot anybody. I don't think we need to kill anybody. I think we need to hang them all after a fair trial. So all it really takes
Well,
And
that's
it's
what
12
Lincoln
men,
said.
12 men, and if we can get, and one honest judge, and there are judges out there that do feel the way we do, and there are law enforcement out there that feel the way we do. Richard Mackey's our friend. I'm sure any of the sheriffs that I've supported and talked to over the years would be glad to arrest some of these bankers with the evidence that we've got available. You've got it up on your website. You've got it up on your documentation. Some of that documentation I got up on the line.
Well, the interesting thing is, it doesn't take much. It takes American citizens getting off of their duff and quit saying, gimme, 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 gimme. I don't want to do anything but gimme, gimme, gimme. And it takes two people to walk into an open court and openly state in that open court that treason against the people has been committed. And they are calling for a grand jury hearing. They can do this in every county of the state. They can do it in every state of the union, and let those 12-man juries in every state, every county, etc., let them make the decision. Let them do their self-determining. That's what this country is about. That's what happens when your Ninth Amendment government fails to represent the people as prescribed in the Constitution for the United States and the Constitution of the United States. There's two different there, for and of. And that's why you have a 10th Amendment in that Bill of Rights. So I think that they've done a darn good chance, but they've got to quit standing there and say, oh, when you get it done, give me a call. I want my share. No, it don't work that way. It's like, if somebody's put up there in front of the firing squad and you're standing there in that firing squad and you say, well, somebody's going to get shot in here. Do you think it's going to be me? I think I'm going to stand here and ask for something or another.
I just need to stay below the radar. I don't want to call attention to myself. How many times have we gotten that, Grandma?
I'll tell you another thing I've heard. Oh my God, I don't want to hear it. How many times have we heard, oh my God, I don't want to get involved. We are involved, whether you realize it or not. You're involved every time, and a good example is every time you go to the grocery store and you pay almost $3 for a loaf of bread that you shouldn't be paying over a quarter for. But what's that extra money go for? It goes for the Council on Foreign Relations and Clinton's and George Bush's privatized group of non-governmental organizations, and that's running this country and got their toehold in every place that you look. That's where the money's going. And what are they trying to do? They're trying to cover their backsides on all of these bogus debts that they put out that when I read all that to you this morning. Now those debts aren't going to, they put those out for 5 years, 10, 15, 20, 25, and even 30 years in the future. So somebody better get with the program.
Do you think somebody in a small town America, in a little country town, of course, my idea of a country town is Austin, but I mean, couldn't you in Austin, based on all of the information, all of the knowledge that we've compiled, that you've been putting out for years and years and years, that I've been putting out for years and years and years, could we take that to a jury? Now they won't even talk to us on the press. I mean, when I got blasted for starting the militia back in '94, the ABC or NBC didn't want to talk to me.
Well, what Tom Hennigan just did, he tried to rip me apart. he said that I was part of that Nazi paperclip bot, and all of a sudden it seems like everybody on the internet jumped his face. Oh, I tell you,
Stu wasn't very happy about him. Stu wasn't very happy about him. I'll have Stu Webb on, and I'll have Gordon call on,
I don't think Gordon, I've talked to Gordon, and I think that we're all pretty much of the same opinion on that, and I think I can safely speak for Gordon and for our Ambassador Wanta in the fact that I think if Mr. Hennigan, I think we ought to just let him down on the
all right, stay with me, Grandma. We got another hour to go. Stay with me. We'll be right back. Stay with me.